And welcome everyone to the Meta HSE State Finals, where we will get to see which teams will be able to make their way out of their states and compete against the other states to see who is top dog here at Meta HSE. I'm at Midnight, joined by Mendrix, and today we will be taking a look at the New South Wales and ACT regions for what will be hopefully a very exciting best of three series today, Mendrix.
Oh, I am very keen to see what these guys can put together. And all of it does come down to the fact that these are teams that are going to be the next generation of League of Legends players in the future in terms of the professional play. What they do now sets the foundations for that. And at the same time, also might show us something a little bit different and perhaps something we'd like to take into solo queues ourselves. So really excited to see what is on display.
I mean, I don't know about you, man. I've seen enough Jungle Shaco to last me a couple lifetimes recently, all right? It's been popping up in the LJL, popping up in the LPL. I don't need more Jungle Shaco. Then again, maybe I do. Maybe we do need more Jungle Shaco between these two teams. And speaking of the Mendrix, it's about time to introduce them and dive right into Champion Select. Up on the blue side of Summoner's Rift is going to be the King's School North Parramatta. And facing off against them will be St. Marouns College on the red for game number 1. So should be quite an exciting series as we get things kicked off.
Yeah, without, straight off the bat, getting rid of Yasuo as well. A very typical ban. I feel like that's definitely a target ban. Not something that you'd be seeing specifically in competitive play, but Graves, that's definitely more of a general targeted ban. What I specifically want to talk about that is that recent buff, 11.14, 2 extra AD on those base stats is huge, and that means a lot of extra damage in that mid and top lane.
Yeah. And we are powering through these bans here. We all know what we want to get rid of here. I'd argue the 3 edgiest champions in League of Legends have been called out here by King's School on the left-hand side, and they're going to grab themselves an immediate Lulu. Now, so far, Magic says 2 ways this could be played. The first one is, of course, Lulu support paired up with something like a hyper carry. This is nothing new to us. The other one is I know Lulu has been seeing a lot more play in the solo lane with the Shirelias. Do you think it could be more of a solo lane Lulu coming in here, or is it kind of stuck in the realm of Lulu is the hyper carry, AD carry?
I believe it just gives them a really good flex pick going forward. The idea, okay, we can actually go for those hyper carries if we see what our opposition's putting into the mark or putting onto the field. We would actually like to roll that. As you can see, Orianna Poppy taken away, already starting to take away that idea of maybe you do want a hyper carry because you've got a good ball delivery system, a way to get onto that AD, pretty good hyper tank to match that as well. So maybe Lulu could be flexed into those mid and solo lanes. So they have to really see what they decide to put together, but looks like it is going to be a hyper carry move with that Lulu. I wouldn't be surprised now if I see that Lulu go to the bot lane with that Jinx being paired with it.
Yeah, and I love me a good Jinx performance. One of my favorite champions in League of Legends, just full stop, does a ton of damage. When you get to that 3-item power spike that every Jinx is just waiting for, it is nightmare fuel to deal with. And I think the best part of locking in the Jinx as your hyper carry, unlike the likes of maybe a Tristana, is Poppy can't stop the Jinx from running you over because it's not a dash. It's just a girl with a minigun moving really, really fast. So you can't block that one. But there's another way to block this. The Syndra. I assume this is going to be Syndra bot lane, so there is actually a real possibility of Jinx being shut down early.
Yeah, that's one way to go about it. I mean, still could possibly be in the mid lane. Orianna AD has been something that's happened from time to time, and something I'm not putting out there, but I would expect it to also be a Syndra in the bot lane as well. That extra range, being able to jump into effect, stopping Jinx from moving around, at the same time, the ability to bully out and stop that CS from coming through, and letting Jinx reach that late game hyper carry stage that we know she absolutely excels at, is definitely a good way to really shut down the opponents of Kings here. And Marouns, they've got a pretty decent game plan. I like what they've put together so far. Yeah, it's a bit AP heavy, but it's a little bit different, and it's got logic behind it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of damage. It's got burst. It's got damage over time. The only thing you are lacking is the AD carry threat. But a Syndra, it's not a perfect replacement, but Syndra can match a marksman's damage in terms of you can press Q, and with enough cooldown, you get it relatively consistently. So, and of course, that's not to take into account top lane. It can still be something like the Aurelia, Fiora, something really AD heavy that you can build crit into.
If you want to throw Poppy into the jungle, you could still pick up a Kindred as a way to actually bridge that gap for the AD threat as well, if you need to have a little bit into it. At the same time, you can also look for other bruiser-esque champions in the jungle, like the Lee Sin, sort of edge things out, even though Lee Sin typically has been more, traditionally hitting towards that top and mid lane from time to time. So it should be interesting to see how they do round that out. They might just opt in to say, you know what, we're not going to worry about that AP threat. We need to just make sure that we close this game out before that 30-minute mark.
Yeah, and even if there's also the possibility of you need a tank to make it a worthwhile condition, right? If you haven't got any tanks, if you just got squishies, then it's not a real end of the world if you all have the same damage output. As Kai'Sa being locked in, oh, this is
never
Syndra
considered
support.
the Syndra support, did we?
Yeah,
Syndra could be the support on it.
It absolutely is. I haven't seen Syndra support in like 2 months, but man, it is disgusting. Because as a Jinx, you can't dodge it. Oh, you can. You can't dodge the scatter of the week that the Syndra provides.
It's a low chance.
Set up for a
do I
Kai'Sa.
take the 80% gamble here? Typically, most players opt in to not take that gamble. And the idea behind it is literally just scatter the balls everywhere. And when you do use your scatter of the week, it's basically a shotgun of stuns being shot in that direction. And typically, most ADCs do get caught in the fire. So very simple like that. Was popularized by Wolf a long time ago. And we know back when SKT was the thing. I mean, still, a little bit there, but nowhere near as the same amount of relevance.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how they're able to run it today. The other interesting thing is fear on the Ivan. Now, Ivan is not a very popular champion right now.
Got some buffs. Level 14.
He did get some buffs,
but some love.
He got some love, but there's one little problem, which is, can the Ivan successfully duel against the enemy jungler for the first Scuttle Crab of the game? And I still think the answer is 9 times out of 10, no.
Well, you don't need a duel over the Scuttle Crab if you just walk into their jungle and take all their crab. That's one way to go about it.
Yes.
It's like, you've got resources. Screw the Scuttle. I'm making my way to your resources.
Top lane? Into a Cho'Gath?
I reckon it would probably be a Vayne top lane. Now, this is interesting. I understand the logic behind it because, percentage health damage into Cho'Gath. Cool, sweet, lovely. Cho'Gaths can typically just opt in to play a little bit differently. What they can do is literally just go for a more AP-heavy build and just blow Vayne up before she has the opportunity to do anything. All Cho'Gath needs to do is land the Rupture, and Vayne's in for a very bad time. Yeah. The other thing, though, is we're looking at Jinx in top lane. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm pretty sure Cho'Gath's going to be swapping around a little bit. They're messing with my soul right now.
I think it might also be they're not in lane order, would be my first assumption.
That's, look, things happen. I'm sure we can change it up when we get into game and fix it up to make the ordering look correct. I mean, even Orianna top, I don't think that's going to be the case. Most of this is just not in order right now. I think we just jumped straight into the game. We want to get the action going. Who cares about function?
Exactly, and we can still kind of theory craft. Again, we know that, for example, Cho'Gath's going to be top lane. We know Ivan's in the jungle unless you're playing Ivan support, because that's weird, but it's awesome. But I kind of want to look at, well, how do St. Marouns College win this? Because they've got a pretty non-standard composition here. Syndra support, what we assume is Syndra support, Poppy jungle, Vayne top lane. How do they actually win? Because I don't feel confident saying that they should be able to go up against a Cho'Gath tanky, and of course a Jinx with a Lulu babysitting.
I think what we need to look at here is not how it's going to happen throughout the lane stage, but how it gets to that late stage. Because typically when it does get to the late stage, everything becomes equal. Vayne's still going to be Vayne. Kai'Sa's still going to be Kai'Sa. Syndra still will have the ability. You've got a tank, and you've got really good utility. You've got the wave clear as well. You've got all the makings of a team composition. It's just a bit rougher in lane. That's specifically what happens when you have these off-meta picks. That idea of, okay, cool, we've got all the stuff that we need to get there. We just need to get there. And the off that's what's the weak part of the off-meta for it. It's going to be a struggle for Vayne. All you need to do is put Ivan in that top lane where Vayne would be, and basically just shut her down. And that's the problem there. God of ARAM really needs to work hard at staying alive, because if I was Steer, I'd be parking my tent right there and making sure this Vayne had no real chance to get themselves into the game. Through that, Cho'Gath, of course, is going to be something that's an absolute monster if they gets to those late stages as well, and it is ahead, and that should bridge the rest of the team to come to a victory. You got the Jinx, she's going to be good regardless. With that Lulu support, and of course Diana, with that utility for the engage, you have everything that you need on the King side. It really is going to be up to Maroon to play and navigate this mid game to be at a point where they will be favorably able to take those engages towards late game. Because if it does go late, I'm looking at Maroon to win this.
Yeah, I like that composition. It's got fantastic scaling in basically every position. Whereas, while it's not saying that Kings can't scale, obviously Cho'Gath scaling for days and Jinx is a late game monster, they got a lack of damage, which is a little alarming. Double protective out of the Lulu Ivan, but will the Jinx have the damage output to kill everybody? Because Diana's good, but maybe it's just me, I don't value Diana that highly when it comes to mid or even late game fights, because she's got the one fundamental weakness is she's got to get close. And I see a Vayne with a knockback, I see a Kai'Sa with a Syndra with a knockback, I see a Poppy with a knockback, and I see Orianna existing with the ball.
I see a Poppy with the ability to stop a dash.
Yeah.
That's the huge thing here. Poppy just needs to sit in front. The moment Diana tries to make a run in, just go, nope, putting up my steadfast, and then she's going to get stuck before she can even use her ultimate and abilities. And that's huge. And the other thing as well, when you've got 4 damage threats that you need to look out for, it becomes very hard to make a decision. So execution really is going to be key for Kings to succeed in this match.
Yeah, and speaking of that, guys, we will be diving into our first game here of our best of 3 series at the state finals of NSW and ACC. Guys, so do not go anywhere. In about a minute's time, we'll be diving into our first game of the day. And it is go time for game number 1 in our best of 3 series here between the King's School North and St. Marouns College. Game number 1 is looking a bit spicy in the draft, but a little bit plain in the start of the game, with standard line of scrimmage coming out from the side of King's School. And St. Marouns are doing a bit of a stack on the bottom side, but that's nothing to... nothing gonna come from that, unfortunately, Mendrick. So we have time to talk about the interesting draft that St. Marouns has put together, because their draft is a little bit more unorthodox here. And I think the big thing for me, Poppy is rocking the Dark Harvest, which doesn't give me the idea they're going to be running a tank build today.
And this is the thing, because we can even sort of discuss this a little bit. That Dark Harvest rune pickup is actually just extremely versatile. If you still want to build tank Poppy, you can do that. It just adds a little bit of extra base damage, a bit of extra pop to Poppy, really, as time goes on. That was a completely unintended pun there, by the way. But and the idea behind it is I can still build tank that also, over time, create some damage by just playing the game out. If you do want to go full lethality Poppy, sweet, you have that option to do that as well. And then again, you still have that extra bite because you've got that Dark Harvest. So I like the choice of Dark Harvest here by Poppy because it is. But this is going to be interesting because they might be caught in the bush.
Yeah, the level 1 ambush, but then you realize that it's a Jinx Lulu who scales brilliantly and doesn't do a whole lot level 1. But it's some really nice damage actually down onto the bot lane of Marouns. And look at that. Spamming out fish bones, but they're sitting at half health apiece. That's so good for King's School.
Yeah, and we talked about how Syndra should have a little bit of an edge out over this Jinx as time goes on. Well, now that they actually been able to get this little bit of damage early, they're actually in a really big advantage, and now they can't bully. Look at this!
Oh my god, level 2 is almost available as well, so Zap could just execute them as... My god, this bottom lane. Jinx Lulu's meant to scale, man. Jinx Lulu is meant to be good in the late game. We're not even 3 minutes into the game, and Norka and Bob have bullied their opponents basically out of lane.
Yeah, really love what we put together there. The idea of just being a little bit more aggressive, putting a little bit more emphasis on saying, you know what, let's make sure we put a stamp on this lane. Look, they almost got Shirik!
Oh!
Look at him!
Lulu is terrifying. That was disgusting quantities of damage there.
Oh, King's off to a fantastic start here in this bot lane, and things just look really bad now for Maroon. Oh my god, they could even look for a dive if they really want to.
Yeah, they could. I don't feel like I feel like diving with a Lulu Jinx is kind of begging for death. I feel like their option is just continue what they're doing, right? Get the poke down, use fish bones for the extra damage, use picks for the extra damage, harass them under turret because... Oh, never mind. Khan visiting mid lane, and that's all that she wrote in the mid. But
yeah,
this bottom lane...
Just missing out on the wallbang there.
Yeah. Oh no, Khan. No, wait, buddy, watch out. Gotta run. Get out of there, buddy. Will be able to escape for the most part. It does have the ball for the shielding, a little bit extra damage, but force the flash to safety. Augment is hungry for it, but will not be able to find anything more than just a little bit of harassment.
Just really good presence of mind to see how the movement around the map rotates here for Kings. Using that opportunity to basically stop Maroon every time they try to edge out a bit of an advantage, and then in return just punish directly afterwards. And I do want to talk about this bot lane here for Kings. I don't like the fact that they sat around. They've used a lot of their mana. I mean, they're actually doing really well at using their mana, but they've used their mana. They've already stamped out a little bit. Their Shirik has come back, has a bit more sustain in lane now, and they might find an opportunity to get a return kill. You could actually look for that damage, but Fear trying to get Muslim at the moment. Yeah,
getting some nice harassment down there onto the Orianna. Now, I think most of this is the fact that Augment wants to recall and TP back into lane death. Diana, obviously with a lack of range, in this case a lack of mana, needs a little bit of backup. Sophia is sort of forced to come and hang out in the middle lane. And I would love if Khan on the Poppy sees this and says, okay, I'm invading your jungle. Yes, there's nothing up right now, but I would still like to see, you know, a bit more proactivity from the Poppy jungle when you know the Ivan is just sort of hanging out in the middle lane.
It's very true. I'm trying to see now if there's a particular way that Maroon can start to turn things around against Kings and which lane it's going to be into. But every time I look at it, you can see here at the moment, Kings has the top lane under lockdown. They have a lot of support coming through Glacier in the mid lane, and now they're making a move towards this bot lane. Shirik in trouble.
Oh, needs to dodge everything and does, but it is the support of gets caught out there. Gets turned into a little cupcake looking thing there as Norka on the front line there. Sugar trying to fight back, but will there be enough flame choppers come down? Will catch out one. They are so low. One more auto will do it, but they are not able to get the killing blow. And now Khan coming in from the flank. This could be massive. Norka fought the heal. The shield comes out as well. Oh, this is a travesty. It's a travesty, Mendrix.
Oh my god. You can see Khan was so hungry to get in there and make something happen. But Nork and Bob are just so good at jungling everything across, forcing flashes and summoners left, right, and center. All this is happening at the moment. And look at this. They're still playing with fire. Nork is so good. Bob!
Yeah, Bob and Fear are hunting them down. There is no need for an AD carry. The double enchanters of King's School North are more than enough to do the job themselves.
And this is all mechanics play. This is all outplay coming from Kings at the moment. There's a little different things that the Maroons could do to actually help out and keep themselves in place. And Fear's got 2 levels on Poppy at the moment. That's ridiculous as well. Khan's like trying to find resources and he's just been stealing it away the entire time.
I think Fear hanging out in the middle lane for about half an hour pushing out the wave of Organ may have had something to do with that. Just a feeling I have, Mendrix. I don't know what gives me that impression. But
that lane tax, baby, you gotta love it.
Oh God, don't remind me of lane tax. Last time I had lane tax, my jungler came in, took 2 waves because he proxied them and still smited the cannon minion.
Yeah, that seems fair to me.
Yeah,
what are you talking about? Junglers, oh, look at
features
this!
Available, features available. Name, oh, that could have been amazing, but Name not able to get the feast down onto the God of Arams, instead will just start snacking away on the minions. But Mendrix, I'm getting a little worried. We are 7 minutes into our first game of the best of 3 series. We are 4 kills in favor of King's School, and it's a 2,000 gold lead in the first round. Now, I feel like you talked about St. Marouns College. Their objective is to survive and get to the late game. Well, so far, it's not looking great for them. They're being pressured out. Their bottom lane just is not really allowed to play League of Legends. And while their mid and top are surviving, oh my god, Augment is apparently not in the mood to let his opposing number live in that middle lane. Isn't able to get the kill. But again, pressure. Like, what do St. Marouns College do in this situation to get out of the hole that they're falling into right now?
So you sort of need to look at the lane state for everyone at the moment and see, okay, who's really performing at the moment, who's actually struggling. You can see that your mid and top side are actually doing pretty well in the lane fight. You can see 43 to 47, never mind, Shirik's dying once again. I wonder if that's going to be... That's just ridiculous damage here, all coming from Bob, who's picked up those 2 kills. Now, let's go back to what I was trying to talk about. You can see that, God of Aram's looking pretty good at the moment. You can also see that Muslim's doing a pretty decent job as well, maintaining a bit of an advantage in the lead. So you sort of need to look at those lane states and go, okay, when there is a break-even point, when they actually have that little bit of an edge in the power spike, let's bring in Khan, and with that advantage, start to give something a little bit back. But the thing here is that Kings are just so quick at moving around, they're beginning to now transport those extra advantages in the map and that lane pressure they got, giving up the CS in order to get objectives. And so you've really got a low point of time to make this happen. Khan needs to isolate this power spike. Probably right now is a good time to actually jump in and jump onto a great name. If you can actually look for that now while he's pushed up, while he hasn't had a chance to go back and buy, he could actually force it here. But as you can see, trying to trade objectives, of course it is, that idea of the objectives are the name of the game, looking to actually get that return instead.
Yeah. I actually don't mind that Khan did put priority on the Rift Herald as opposed to going for that top lane gank because, well, partly because Khan didn't exactly have the healthiest of health bars, and Cho'Gath's chomp is always waiting for you the moment you're not paying attention to it. So I do prefer the idea of trade the objectives, and if you can drop the Herald before turret platings drop themselves, I think that's a great trade. Like, yes, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world if you can get some nice gold out of it there. So I feel like that could be a potential play. So then the next question, obviously, Mendrix, is where does Khan look to drop the Rift Herald? Is the top or middle lanes, as the lanes that are doing well, a better place to look? Or could it be in that bottom lane to try get some gold injection into their struggling duo down there?
Yeah, you want it to be in the mid lane. Mid lane has the best opportunity to move around the map, whether it's going to be the top and to the bot side. It also opens up entry points into both sides of the jungle, whether it be blue and red, and of course gives you a bit of extra pressure around those main objectives, which of course is going to be the second Rift Herald and that Dragon. And when you look at it as well, Vayne's typically going to want to continue to split push, wants to level up and be in a bit more advantage, whereas Orianna just excels being grouped up together. So you definitely want to place this Rift Herald in the mid lane, get this Orianna a little bit more mobile around the map, and use the fact that as an advantage in the mid lane, the ability to move around.
Alright, well, hopefully we will get to see that going on, as Khan is probably going to go for that more lethality-focused build that we mentioned at the start of the day. Has the longsword from that first recall. I do hope they do look for a recall soon. They're sitting on just under 2k gold right now in their inventory, and I feel like it's good to power farm, but after a while, you do need to get out there on the map as a jungler. And this is coming from someone who only does power farming as a jungler. Oh no, Mendrix took the map.
That's a full man.
Oh boy, this is a travesty. They're already behind, and King's School decide, no, you're not allowed to live. A beautiful flash to get out of danger. Will they be able to cut it out there? Super Cadet Rocket does get them low enough as Norca picks up the kill with the zap. It is only 1 kill as a gank in the top lane. Great name is not going to get out here. The Vayne has more than enough damage output and health shred to take the Jurassic Dinosaur back down.
And this actually works out very well for them in that sense that they can actually continue to get a bit of an advantage on the top side. God of Aaron will be able to push out, get some of these. I would really love if Khan just hightail towards the mid lane here and drop the Rift Herald there instead of dropping it top side. Purely because, one, you'll be able to get the Orianna again, the points that we discussed beforehand. And as well, it actually shores up a little bit of extra defense here. So you can see members now beginning to make their way back up to the bottom side, from that bottom side to the top side. But they are opting to feed everything into God of Aram, which probably puts God of Aram more as a higher priority player in their standings of things.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm fine with the Vayne being the one to receive, the turret plate injection, because of all champions to get to the late game, Vayne, I think, out of this team composition, alongside maybe the Kai'Sa, has the best chance to just single-handedly take the game in stride, because we've all seen what a good Vayne player can do mechanically. It's disgusting. So if you're giving... Because right now, your bottom laner is struggling. It's going to be a while before Shira on the Kai'Sa is going to be relevant, right? So get your other late game hyper carry online. Let them be the AD carry for the team while Shira needs a bit more time to power up. As we're seeing, Bob, nowhere is safe from this Lulu, man. It is terrifying. The enemy jungle, the enemy bot lane he'll welcome himself to whatever he wants.
Yeah, the Kings have really smelt where they're going to be able to win this game, and it's going to be through that bot side. They've already stamped control early onto it. You can see that top side of the jungle, that blue side there, for Marouns is completely lit up with wards. Basically, that is the enemy's territory at this point. And that is also going to give them full control over this second dragon that's about to spawn in the next 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, and this is quite clearly where Kings have got their eyes set upon, saying, all right, let's just farm the objectives. We know what we need to take here. Oh my lord! And if hell of a fight in the mid lane is Orgwin is feeling it, but realizes he's in a 2v1 and will get put down by Nugu on the Syndra. And now, 5v4. Will they feel confident enough to continue taking the dragon?
Well, they actually have an opportunity here to make this work. Khan's jumping in there.
Oh my lord, Khan is not that tanky though. Khan still hasn't bought items, still is just sitting on the long side. Oh my lord, Norca! It looked like they missed their original target, but still gets the kills, 2 of them. In fact, the Kraken Slayer, of course, in their inventory, and my lord, this Jinx is a problem that I do not know how St. Marouns is meant to be able to stop.
Oh, the entire bot lane here is a problem as well. I mean, look at Bob. Had those 2 kills originally begin with, and is, of course, just well and truly involved with everything. That is ridiculous damage onto this tower, as everything is now starting to fall on the side of Maroons. I mean, they're getting the objectives directly afterwards, and this is how you play League of Legends. You get the picks, then you look for the objectives afterwards. When members are starting to jump out from time to time and get a little bit out of control, you need to jump in there, stop that pressure, and then look for the objectives afterwards. But I think they're going to start running away with this game now, mate. Good night.
Yeah. Did you see the shields on Norca as they were taking the turret? Now, this is a pre-mythic Lulu, and the shield was arguably about a third of Norca's original health bar. How are you meant to get through all of that when you get to the mid to late game? Because right now, it's very clear that Kings at School North are setting up Norca to be, the primary carry. You've got double enchanter supports, you've got a late game Jinx, you've got Cho'Gath for the front line, and while St. Marouns College's damage is good, I don't know how they're meant to get access to the backline, because Poppy, as we saw, isn't going to be able to get access to the backline. Vayne, Kai'Sa have such low range that they're not going to be able to get access to hit the Jinx. So, what's the solution to killing Norca if you're a member of St. Marouns College?
You're going to have to use Syndra's long-range stun to sort of set up for a Orianna ultimate. I feel like that's going to be the only way you can find something here at the moment. And the other thing to take into account here is it's not just the Cho'Gath front line in a great name. You've also got the Glacial front line. Having those double enchanted supports, we could see what those shielding could do and the ability of that wild growth. It allowed Glacial to run in for a dive early. That's what allowed them to pick up that first turret. So technically, you've got a pseudo tank and a tank available for it. So there's a number of ways for them to get into it, and look at this damage coming out of Great. This is going to be a better fight for the
Snacky. Is it Snacky's time, Mendrix? Is it Snacky's time? It's, hey! Snacky's time in the top lane. Great name is then getting bullied down. Norca getting caught out by the double enchanters. Will it be enough there? No, it simply isn't. What is this? This is disgusting. Finally, the shutdown coming through. But that is a disgusting output of damage from Norca, who had less than half health for the entire fight.
And you can really see the difference in gold starting to like take control of this. I mean, when you look at the ADC, 7,500 to 4,300. When you look at the supports, 5,000 to 3,700. That gold influx is just so huge. And also when you take into account that when I've been looking at the way Nork has been playing and I've been looking at the way Bob's been playing, they also have a mechanics advantage as well. You put those two things together and it just seems unmanageable. Now Great Name's in trouble here. Khan wants to find something.
Yeah, gets a flash over the wall, pushes them into the wall, and gets the knock-up as well, but just doesn't have the damage. Oh, no! God of Aram was really hungry for it, and the flank from Glacial, thanks to that TP, means no one getting out alive.
If we're talking about a punishment there for an overextension, that is the perfect illustration for it. Khan looking for the flash, puts him in, they chase under tower, and then with a fantastic rupture, manages to pick up God of Aram. And then directly afterwards, even if they managed to get it out as a 2-for-0 trade, you still had a pincer coming in from behind because you went too far and too soon. And unfortunately, that means there's punishment coming across the board for Kings.
And once again, the gold is just going to continue to escalate between these two teams here. Kings School sitting on a very comfortable 6,000 gold lead between these two teams. And I talked about my concern on the Jinx, because again, I love the champion. 3 items is really where Jinx just flourishes. And right now, Jinx has hit her 2 items, and these are the primary 2 items now. At any point that there is a fight, Jinx is happy to fight. She wants 3 items, but a Hurricane and a Kraken Slayer means that she can, if allowed, single-handedly win a team fight with the right backup. And with Bob and Fia playing the way that they have been, I feel like as you mentioned before, the only way that Norka is going to be in danger is if Nugu on the Syndra or Muslim on this Orianna manage to find like a stun or like a hidden ball shockwave or something like that, because otherwise this Jinx is just going to kill everybody that gets between them and their target.
And then what makes it worse for Marouns is the idea of there is actually room for error here for Norka and Bob. If Norka does get caught out, you've got the wild growth, you've got the shielding, you've got the extra level advantage, giving you a bit more HP, a bit more resistances. All these things really do add up in the grand scheme of these team fights. So even if Bob and Norka don't play it perfectly, they still might be able to come over. And I didn't even account into this Fear as well. Fear has a shield that can continue to protect Norka as well. So even if they do decide to just drop all their resources into taking Norka out, that is a lot they're going to have to chew through before they can even get there. And we can see more happening here. Norka is fearless. Actually leading the front here. That's not where an ADC should be, but he's still flourishing in this game.
But I mean, when you've got a Lulu and an Ivan whose entire job it is to keep you alive, why wouldn't you frontline? This is a Juggernaut composition, but with a Jinx, as they... they can't land anything on Norka, and now Riptail's being dropped. Khan, no! No, Khan, that's not the opening you need, buddy!
And this is just them cracking the nut open now. You can tell they're just deciding to put in the nutcracker, which is going to be Shelly, dropping it in, and Norka's just sitting there, just throwing out pot shots the entire way through. Great name jumping in too.
It's Snacky's time. It's diving into the backline. Glacial gets a beautiful combo, and the lines of St. Marouns are shattered. There is nothing for them to do here. Shelly is angry. They're actually looking for the Nexus turrets here right now, Menjits. They are hungry for this win. Shelly will not be able to dance her way to victory, but Kings School North will, as the first game of this best of 3 goes down 20 minutes, and utter devastation left on Summoner's Rift here. As well, it's been a rough first game, and Kings School North is looking beautiful for it. If they ever choose to end.
This has definitely been something that shows just the difference in the teams at the moment in time. Maroon's going to have their work absolutely cut out for them. They're going to find the way to get back into it, because it's not just, one particular player that shined there. All the players from Kings shine, and that's something that's going to be really worrying, really hard to deal with. And I think maybe they should have opted in for something that's a bit more easier in that execution towards the laning phase if they're going to have an opportunity to. It definitely things they can fix in that drafting phase.
Yeah, so the drafting, I think, let's take a little look at drafting, because I feel like the drafting was a little bit all over the place. As you quite clearly stated early on, the competition from St. Marouns scales brilliantly, but you've got to get there. And I think that was one of the biggest problems, is their bottom lane was just unable to keep up with the pressure that was being put on them by Norka and Bob. While Muslim did a good job, equalizing the middle lane, their jungler Khan really struggled to have a positive impact this game. So I feel like coming into the second game, I feel like if you just maybe give yourself like a Nautilus in the bottom lane, something a bit beefier that can maybe survive a little more harassment down there. And then I'm not saying the Poppy wouldn't work, but I want to see more proactivity out of the Poppy. I'm talking aggressive ganks. I'm talking like flash over a wall, slam someone into another wall, something nice and aggressive. Because Khan, for a lot of that game, felt like Khan was sort of farming the jungle, which is good. But when Fear is like, ganking the mid lane to push it out, when Fear is securing all the objectives, you need to have that bit more proactivity coming out of your own team's jungler.
Absolutely. The best junglers really do plan their ganks around their jungle pathing, not their jungle pathing around their ganks. So when you look at you, like, I want to be ganking here in the next minute or so, I can pick up these 2 camps along the way, and then I want to gank mid afterwards. I can pick these 2 camps along the way. Everything goes from the gank first, the jungle pathing second, not the other way around.
So on that note, guys, that will be our first game wrapped up here for Meta HSE League of Legends. But remember, this is a best of 3 series, so there is at least one more game, perhaps 2, if side of Set Marouns are able to fight back, guys. So do not go anywhere. The game number 2 of Meta HSE for the regional finals will be kicking off shortly. Hey guys, and welcome back to Meta HSE. I'm Midnight, still joined by Mendrick. So, a little bit of an update. This was meant to be a best of 3 series between Kings and Set Marouns. However, it is in fact only going to be a BO1 as Set Marouns have decided not to commit to a full best of 3 after that first match, and it will be the Kings School North claiming the victory here over at Meta HSE. So, congratulations to the Kings for that match.
Definitely congratulations there. Also, just want to point out, Sam Marouns, it was good to come in at the start of it, give it a good crack just to see how things went into it. And hopefully we can see you guys next year with a little bit more prep, perhaps even, take a little bit more of a revenge game against Kings if possible. But again, going back to a massive congratulations to Kings to continue progressing through in this competition and, of course, show us why they are one of the better teams coming into it.
Yeah, and for their victory, they will be moving on to the next stage, which of course will be the interstate stage. I believe it's called the champion stage, where all the top schools from each state are then going to start butting heads. And then, of course, that leads into the finals. And of course, the competition to find out who is the best school in Australia at League of Legends. But I think we're getting a spot ahead of ourselves, Mendrix, because of course we still had this series. And I think it's worth looking at who is going to be the Optus and Torrens University MVP of our particular match here between Set Marouns and King's School North. Mendix, do you want to do the honors, mate?
I'll take the honors very much. It's going to be Bob Sagox in this scenario here, and Bob just played a fantastic game from start to finish, but what really shined through was the ability to be super aggressive with a Lulu of all things and really set up Norca to have an absolute ripper of the game. And from every single point onwards, if you look at the kill KDA or the KDA in this scenario, Bob Sagas was essentially involved in 80% plus of everything going forward, and it makes sense that Bob Sagas is going to be the MVP of this series.
Exactly. Like, yes, it's easy to say, oh, but look at the 80 carry, did such a good scoreline, but what you got to remember is, well, how did the Jinx look so good? Because the Bob on the Lulu got the first blood. I believe they had 2 kills early on in the game and spent most of their time just bullying out of the Kai'Sa and the Syndra. So they weren't able to do any congestion, which meant the Jinx could free farm. It basically allowed Norca to do whatever the hell they damn well wanted in that bottom lane and then escalating the game from there. So, of course, congratulations, Bob, on being the MVP for this particular match. And moving on forwards, Mendrix, there is still more League of Legends. Not today, unfortunately, but on the 20th, there will be the Victorian, I can't remember the other state for it, but it's the Victorian regional finals. So, of course,
Yep.
that is something else to keep your eyes open for, guys, if you're more interested in more meta HSE League of Legends. Just meta HSE in general, I suppose, is a good way to look at that one. But, Mendrix, I've got some bad news, I'm afraid, mate. Is that with all this said and done, that's it from us today.
I mean, I cleared my schedule for today. I was ready to roll when it comes into this. Like, everything was just looking good, I even had a COVID beard going, and I got rid of it. So, I mean,
And yet
look,
here you are.
it's nice to always have an early mark. I must admit, I think every time I was back at school, early marks were nice. But sometimes, it is a little bit like, well, if that is what it is, sometimes it's okay for us to go jump into it. You know what? I'm looking at it that way. It's an early mark from us.
Yeah. But guys, on that note, thank you everyone for participating in throughout the course of Meta HSE's tournaments at the course of the year. And of course, for the teams joining us today, the audience for you guys having watched the last hour or so of League of Legends. We thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you on the 20th for the Victorian regional finals. So until then, guys, take care and we'll see you later.